There should be more of that. There should be more dialogue. There should be. And it just seems there's a lot of extremism on both sides. I get people get passionate about things, and you can have emotion without being disrespectful, right?
Peterborough is a pretty good example with the NDP leader the other day of people having an opinion, and I think expressing it poorly and reflecting poorly on the people that they're with.
Now, is it a sign that people are really getting fed up because of their behaviors getting worse?
It's a sign that they don't know how to control their tempers and behavior, and they really should be more polite when they're expressing themselves.
But again,
I don't excuse a rant and a hissy fit.
Yeah.
I never excuse that. If you can't figure out how to cope with your anger, you should go in a corner until you can.
And then when people are trying and trying and trying and they're getting nowhere, what do they do then?
Learn how to cope with their anger, because it doesn't do them any good. It emboldens the side against them, and it doesn't progress their point of view. So if I never excuse impolite behavior like that for whoever's doing it, including if I'm doing it. And I've learned those lessons myself. Being demonstrative is a sign of immaturity, and it doesn't matter why you're there. You have to figure a way out of it.
And I think, and
these
I've had
people,
lots of conversations online where I've been very, like, bring it back. I'm not saying, I've been called names, I've been called, like, horrible things, and I'm like...
And you didn't instigate it?
Well, I didn't instigate it, and then I'm going,
and
like, what does that have to
do
with this, right? Like, let's bring it back to the point here, and we can have difference of opinions without being nasty to each other, right? I'm just saying, I think that there's a lot of people who are very frustrated after trying to voice things for so long in one way. I just think the feeling, let's say, as a whole is starting to shift a little bit. When you see disrespect coming from the leaders to the people, and there's nothing done about that, that's frustrating, right? So, for example, Justin Trudeau, anti-science, misogynistic, racist, fringe minority. I'm insulted. I'm insulted, and I think he should be held accountable for hate speech against me.
An insult isn't hate speech.
He's the Prime Minister, and he's talking about some of his people like that. That, to me, is completely wrong. You don't get to talk about me. I'm not misogynistic. I'm not racist. I'm not an anti-science. And for you to suggest that people who have a different point of view are those things, you're diminishing their intellect, you're diminishing anything about them, and you're just saying they're not even worth listening to. They're not worth, like he said, should we tolerate them? Should we tolerate them? Come on. Those are some pretty strong words coming from our Prime Minister. Should we tolerate them? Should we tolerate
I don't like Justin Trudeau and how he goes about things. I don't like the way he does things. I think he's immature sometimes, and he causes delays in a civil discussion by the way he handles stuff. But I looked at it differently because I wasn't part of the truckers' convoy. I had a pretty good understanding of where some of the organizers were coming from. And I also knew that not everybody that was in the mood to protest was the same as them. I understood that.
Yeah.
But I certainly didn't agree with the protest lasting as long as it did down there, the entrenchment and the intrusion and...
Did you go down there?
The trespass? No, I wouldn't go there.
Okay.
Why would I go there?
Why
would I go there?
Because, and here's why, like, the original...
If you were in my yard and you didn't leave when you were supposed to, that's what it was as far as I was concerned. I don't care if you're having a hot tub party and everybody's having a good time, but I wanted you gone.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it.
Yeah.
And I had plenty of the coverage that I was watching on both sides. I was monitoring everybody's thing. I had lots of discussions with people who were there, and they said, "Oh, you got to come here." I wouldn't go trespass. Well, I felt that was a trespass on the people that were down there. That's all.
So there's a bunch of things I think that happened during that. So one, I went down there because I've seen what the media is doing, the mainstream media. I see how they misreport things all the time. And I was like, I want to see for myself because I know they're going to be broadcasting stuff. And I know it's I want to see, I want to be there, I want to talk to the people, I want to see what's going on. So that's why I went down. And first of all, I was blown away at that temperature, minus 35, because I jumped in the convoy at about 8 o'clock at night, I guess, and then went down to Ottawa. And there was thousands and thousands and thousands of people that were outside 11, 12 o'clock at night that had been out there all day with bonfires going. And I'm like, people are not happy, obviously, because people are rising up. There was a ton of people in North Bay that stood up to support it. And from here to Ottawa, it was just thousands of people on both sides of the highway all the way down. So in my mind, I'm going, okay, if this is a minus 35 degree weather, can you imagine if it was a decent, nice summer day? There would have been more, I believe, out there. So it spoke to me how many people were willing to stand outside in that cold weather and just show their support. Just show their support. There was thousands, and there's video footage of all the people. I think I've never seen so many bonfires on the side of the highway in my entire life, you know what I mean? Just on both sides all the way down there. The blockades when they were down there, they knew they were coming, and they let them in. They let them in.
They let them in with the understanding they weren't going to be there.
Yeah, and there was supposed to also be
the people they were talking to, and I've read the stuff, the tweets for the cops, and they expected them. They gave them access, they expected them to leave, and they didn't.
Yeah. Now there was also no dialogue that was had either. You know,
I saw the.
You have that many people in Parliament, and it's Parliament. It's our nation's capital.
I wouldn't dialogue with people that had ultimatums to disband the government.
It wasn't even an ultimatum to disband the government,
yeah,
as far as I'm concerned.
That's what they said.
There was some people, but that wasn't the whole goal.
Right.
The whole goal. No.
That wasn't the whole goal, but
no,
the whole goal kept moving.
Everybody.
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, with that, there was different people, different organizations. Let's say there was a lot of people that showed up. And I think there was way more people that showed up than they even anticipated. Like whether it was the convoy or the government, I think on both sides, they did not anticipate that many people showing up. It was quite big, right?
Well, halfway there, they were saying there would be 10, 20,000 people, 50,000. Yeah, they were.
Yeah, it was.
They should have.
It was packed.
It was poorly handled on both sides, I think.
Now to me, the show.
Anything over a week. Actually, anything over 4 days is more than a protest.
Okay, it's a sit-in or whatever you want to call it.
An invasion.
An invasion. Well, you know what? That depends on your perspective too, right? Because as far as an invasion, you know, the downtown core, everything was blocked off by police barricades. It was not truckers. They did move vehicles out of the way at different points when they were asked. They weren't blockading the streets for businesses and that. It was the police blockades.
Well,
for several blocks out, like 2, 3, 4 blocks out.
There was enough trucks there, then a situation where they wouldn't want a free flow of traffic. They couldn't have a free flow of traffic.
You could have, except for the police blockades, because it was down in one area. Down both sides, right? Like right in front of Parliament.
I think we can agree that there was a major statement made by a number of people.
That was completely ignored.
I don't think it was the majority Canadians by any sense in the matter.
I think there was enough of people saying, hey, things need to change, we need to have dialogue, we need to have something. Because you have government officials who lost nothing during the pandemic, in fact got raises, right? Because
I don't agree with that either.
No, and then they don't even. And I mean, I was right there when they had a session the one day, and people were coming out, and the ones that wanted to choose to walk through the one door, walking through the convoy and everything. There was nothing rude that was said to them. The message was, hey, like, please, you know, do the right thing. You need to listen to the people, do the right thing, vote, whatever, right? There was no name calling, there was no harassment, none of that stuff. Right there where I was at that moment, let's say.
Yeah, I'm sure it was spotty, and there's bad actors on both sides yelling and you know, demonstrating their anger and whatnot.
There was a lot of anger from the protesters coming to protest, let's say, right? The signs were
they were
pretty
fed
horrible.
up too.
Got some Okay, being fed up. Well, you know what? You don't get to tell me that I deserved. You know that was their signs. you guys deserve to die. Like
Wow.
those kinds of signs, they were pretty horrible. I've got pictures of them too.
Yeah.
There were some pretty nasty
I don't agree
things
with that
on it.
either.
Absolutely not.
But it's insults, right? It's words.
Yeah.
It's words.
It's not just words though, it's an attitude, right?
Well, yeah.
It's an
the
attitude
people
that
can have
leads
an
into
attitude.
things. They can.
Yeah.
But when you get a group of people that thinks that it's okay for another group of people just to die because they don't agree with them, that's not, I mean, I would
That's
never
not something
wish,
that I respect.
I don't wish people to die. You know,
Yeah.
whether I agree with, let's say, I've heard and I've had words with people when they've said, you know, oh, can't we told the vaccinated die? And I'm like, that's a pretty freaking horrible thing to say. Horrible. And I do not support that at all. I both sides, right? I'm not into people saying, hey, that's cool. And I will stand there and say that. And it's everybody's right to stand and have their opinion and everything like that.
When did they print all those "fuck you, Trudeau" sign?
I'm not sure. You know, that's where some people are just so tired of somebody who's privileged pushing down on other people, allowing corporations, big corporations, to stay open. Government is to continue to make money and get themselves raises, but they can't feed their family. They're losing their house, right? There's been a lot that's happened with people, and there's many stories that can be told and should be told, and people.
And
need
that should
to
be part of that
understand.
inquiry. Is
Absolutely.
part of the impacts of these poor decisions our government made, and that was the sloppy handling of an emergency.
And people need to be held accountable. They really do, and they're not. And you know, at some point, and I've said it too, like we're fighting for everybody's rights, not just ours, but everybody, and some people don't even know it, okay? So, for example, somebody I know, triple vaxxed, taking care of a palliative father who's ill, an elderly father, triple vaxxed. She brings him to the hospital one day because he's not feeling well. They know he's palliative. They know they're both vaccinated. They both did PCR test negative. She's refused to be able to go into the hospital with him. So he's in there, and I believe it was about 10 after 5 or 5:30. They get a call, oh, Dad passed away at 4:30. You and whoever need to come in and spend as much time with the family. You guys can come in there and can come in and spend as much time as you need with the body. Do you think she's a little bit angry right now?
Oh, she should be.
She should be.
That's inhumane.
That is completely inhumane. So, and that was one of the things we're talking about, like some of these rules and regulations that have been severely pushed down on people, and they don't make sense. You know, they are stealing moments like that, and you're never going to get that back. And there's been a lot of it, like a lot of it. In situations, another friend from up north, you know, no cases in their town, both tested, nobody's got COVID. They're still not allowed to go in the hospital, and their parent dies. Why? That was completely unnecessary, you know. You're saying you're worried about COVID, but now you're testing and there's no issue. Like, why would you prevent them from being with their loved one?
Yeah.
So that went on, and it's still going on, and it's been way too long. You know, it never should have happened in the first place. And it shouldn't be continuing to happen. And this wasn't that long ago. You know, this was like, I'm going to say maybe 5 weeks ago.